Welcome to another edition of Chai with Molly, a show where we celebrate diversity the Canadian way. I have been looking so much forward to seeing all of you. I trust you had a great week. Once again, we have a very good show for you, so stay with us. Please join me in welcoming two very special guests to our studio, Alex Matthews and Zara Govinji. These are two wonderful parents of two separate children and whose children go to public schools, and they're like thousands upon thousands of parents living in Ontario are outraged with this new sex ed curriculum. So let's talk to them and see why they're so upset about it. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, so you're really very upset about this. Why are you enraged?
First of all, there are a few points I want to highlight. Exposing children to graphic and explicit adult sexual content can have a very serious detrimental repercussion or consequence, you will, on the children. Mm-hmm. As well, advising children to be, sexualizing our children, let me use the right terminology, sexualizing our children and robbing off their innocence from them. You know, cultures across the world, regardless of the faith, regardless of the education, whether you believe it in or God, everybody across the board agree that children are innocent. Robbing the innocence of the children and sexualizing them, and you're sitting at an authority and asking them to sexualize yourself, you know, as a parent, I am really concerned and worried. As well, the whole modus operandi of introducing this thing, you know, it was all hush-hush. There was a token involvement of the parents. That there was no significant participation of inputs from the parents in this whole process.
Like, I think what we know is that one parent per school was consulted in this process, right? And so you have one daughter and two boys?
Two daughters and one boy.
Two daughters and a boy, right. Oh my goodness. And you?
I have an 8-year-old who's just going to grade 3.
All right, so...
It's very disturbing. I agree with Alex totally on all the points that he said. Additionally, I feel the 2 points that are most disturbing to me. I feel it's age inappropriate. She's too young, and many other kids her age in grade 3. I don't think that they should be introducing this thing to kids at this level. Okay. And the other thing, I feel the content. That is very disturbing. I don't know if
what part of the content are you most disturbed by?
I'm going to read out this thing to you. It says, particularly, it talks about 2015 version has added a new controversial and very flawed theory that will be taught to elementary school children. My daughter is in elementary, she's in grade 3, and it's called gender expression. The new curriculum document also has a much stronger undertone of sex as purely a recreational activity, whose purpose is pure pleasure apart from love or marriage. So it's bringing it down to such a level. And I don't think any parent would want their kids to be exposed
to anything like this. Yeah, this is too explicit.
Yeah.
And it's too graphic.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. That is what I've heard most of the parents say. Now, you have been protesting, both of you have been going to the school. What are the school authorities telling you?
Last year, later part of the last year, when I heard about this will be introduced in September 2015, approached school and expressed my concerns. And at that time, they told me that they were very cooperative, they were very respectful. Okay. They said that we will definitely talk to you about this next year, and then we'll discuss about our options. And they reassured me that they will help me and take me into confidence in this process so that I will have a voice and have an input into the process, the logistics of how this will be delivered.
Did they contact you?
No, I'm sorry. I mean, I went back, and then yesterday I had a conversation with the principal and the vice principal. They were very open and they're very cooperative. They reassured me that they will try their best not to expose my child to the material, sexually explicit material.
Did they tell you how they were going to go about doing that? Will your daughters and son be excused? Or will there be a separate class for students whose parents are okay with this curriculum? How is that going to be done?
First of all, they said that they reassured me that I don't have to worry because teachers, they also have kids and they also really are facing a dilemma. Like, you know, it's difficult. The content is very explicit.
It's
graphic.
very, very graphic and very explicit. And so, what's your take on that?
On the first day of the school year, I went, took my daughter, and I talked to the vice principal. I asked her to the status of what it is and how it stands and when it's going to be implemented. And the vice principal told me that we don't know anything yet. We don't even know when it's coming in, when we're going to start. The teachers don't even know how to introduce it. They don't have knowledge on to what extent it needs to be taught. So before even implementing it, they are going to talk to the parents. The vice principal did say there were a few of us who went in. There's about 20 of us who wanted to let them know that we do not want our children to be taking these classes at all. We did tell her that, and she wants us to go in next week again, and she wants to have a dialogue with us. Now, from my understanding, what they are trying to achieve is they are trying to talk to us and tell us that this is the way we're going to sugarcoat it and introduce it to your kids. It's still going to be mandatory, as per my understanding.
It is mandatory.
They are going to introduce it. They are going to teach it. It's going to be mandatory, and that's the fight that we have. We do not want this to be a mandatory subject like English, math, geography, which is part of your syllabus. We want this to be an optional subject where we have the say to whether we want our kids or do not want the kids. We don't speak for the 100%. There may be a percentage who want their kids to be learning this. Fine, that's their choice.
They have a right to do that.
They have a right. We have our right.
Exactly.
Not for our kids not to be exposed to this kind of curriculum. They should keep that as an option, not as something like you have to do it.
Mandatory.
If you don't do it, if you're going to be accountable for not your credits. You're going to lose your credits, and so on and so forth. So we really don't know. It's very vague, just like the curriculum itself. It's very vague. There's no detailed explanation as to exactly what it is that's going to be taught or when or how it's going to start.
Right. And Minister Liz Sandals, who is the education minister, she came up with a statement saying if parents don't like it, they can withdraw their children.
That's not done. She's sitting there. She's got a responsible position. She should take all our views into consideration. This is not something that she likes and she wants to introduce and she wants that all of us should like it as well. No, we all have a right to our opinion and a right to our choice.
Okay, now both of you are people of faith. You are Muslim and you represent evangelical Christian. Okay, so many people of faith believe that this is a topic that has to be introduced through the lens of faith as well as culture.
Correct.
Right? Because there is a very strong component of faith in this, right? Many faiths I know, including Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Sikhs, and Jews also, they believe in abstinence. That is what is taught, right?
That's true.
We believe in abstinence until the day you get married.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, to your point, as we grew up from a very cultural, background, and we never used to use words and terms like sex. I remember as we grew up, my mom told me it's time we talked about the birds and the bees. And and that was when we were teenagers.
Right.
And we reached puberty. And it was introduced by our mothers in such a way that it wasn't offensive. And my mom knew exactly when she needed to introduce to me at what stage. I want to be able to do that for my daughter, because nobody knows my daughter, and same goes for you. Nobody knows our kids the way we do. We know at what level they can grasp what.
Right. And respond to this, that children many parents feel that they are being robbed of their innocence.
Yeah.
Right? So respond to something like that. Do you agree?
I do agree. Just to reinforce to what Sarah said, the proponents of this curriculum say that it is evidence-based and scientifically researched.
Okay.
It is not true.
That's
because
right.
Academy of Child and Adolescent Pediatrics, they say that for the best interest of children, children must learn this from the mouth of their parents.
That's right, because they know their children better.
Exactly.
They understand their cultural sensitivities, their religious sensitivities, and through that process, through that lens, this education has to be imparted by parents, right? And many parents I know, including the ones who were here before, they feel that the Premier and Minister Liz Sandal, she wants to co-parent. Right, they want to come in and start co-parenting with you. How do you feel about that?
I mean, in fact, when you say about co-parenting, I don't agree in a lot of, like I said, the content itself. Just to give you a point, they're going to be teaching anal sex to kids, and the anal intercourse is still being presented in a way that students will interpret as carrying no higher risk for STI than vaginal intercourse, where we know that the risk is 3,000% more than for catching HIV/AIDS than it is through vaginal intercourse. They're trying to downplay the effects of the seriousness of HIV to kids, making them feel like it's okay to have anal sex. And I'm sorry, but this is really implicit, and we need to talk about this. The fact that this material it's false. They're giving our kids false information, that they're giving them education that is incorrect.
And also, from what I know, there is no mentions of abstinence. What
Exactly.
about, majority of the kids who remain, celibate, and they believe in this. So what happens to them? They are not being factored into this, right? And they may not want to hear all that stuff.
Of course.
As well, two more points I want to add, which is really disturbing me. If you trace back to any ancient or modern civilization, before the beginning of the end, always there is a trigger point or element which causes their destruction. Is we start obliterating the fundamental moral values and disregarding, or when you see the decay of the, you're trampling upon the fundamental moral values. I mean, we are getting closer there. We're getting closer there. This is a dangerous sign as well. This particular curriculum is undermining the value of the parents.
Absolutely. That is what concerns me the most, because parents like you've immigrated, and I'm sure one of the most important reasons for coming to this great country was for the education of your children.
Exactly.
Right? And many others have done the same thing. And so I know majority of parents would not want this. They don't want it.
No.
At least not from the immigrant community. And I know many local people are also the same way. They say, "Oh, the immigrants are all up in arms." I know there are many people who are born here and who don't agree with this curriculum either. So it's not an immigrant issue. It's not only a Muslim-only issue, because they're also saying the only people who are protesting about this are the Muslims at Thorncliffe Park. When the protests are happening all over Ontario, and people of all faiths and people of those who don't even subscribe to any faith are also protesting about it.
Exactly.
Right?
It's the core system itself, the way what they're introducing, the way they're introducing it, the content itself, that is false.
It's not one of the mandates of the government to define gender identity and sexuality. It's not one of their mandates. I mean, it's my right, my prerogative, my responsibility, my discretion to teach these stuff to my children at the right time, at the appropriate age. It's my right and my prerogative.
Because it's in a democracy. The government absolutely has no right to mandate something. Right? This is government stepping into homes and into families upon the rights.
They're infringing our personal boundaries.
Exactly.
And they're trying to say that, you don't know how to teach and bring up your children, and let me come in and teach you.
It amounts to that you don't know that you don't know what you're doing, and also that children are definitely going to indulge in this.
I mean, why are we looking at it from such a negative perspective? Why are we parents not worthy of being trusted? Why can't they have trust and faith in us that we will install good values in our kids? We will install values in them, and we will teach them. It's important for our kids to know a lot of things, but not in the way they want to introduce it.
That's right, yeah.
And not at the age in which they want our kids to be learning all this.
So basically, this is not a science-based or evidence-based curriculum. It's an ideology. Okay, so in the pretext of teaching health and physical education, they are introducing it through, front of your brain, but they're smuggling in another ideology from behind your brain.
Sometimes it appears like we're living in a crazy world. You're not allowed to say you're a girl. You're not allowed to say you're a boy. You're not allowed to say, like the other day I heard, I'm not supposed to introduce my husband as husband. It's becoming a little bit crazy.
So they say that gender is fluid. Yeah. So one day you can feel like a boy, and then the next moment you can feel like a girl.
But then everybody is not like that. Yes. Right? Those who are like that, there are people who feel like that. Okay, fine. You may be like that, and you have a right to be that way, but everybody is not thinking like that, right? So there are going to be some serious issues, right? Even in terms of telling boys that just because you wore a pink shirt today, maybe you're not really a boy.
You're more inclined to the other sex.
How is that even possible?
Exactly.
Right?
Sad.
Children are just children, and we need to let them be children.
Like, for instance, at different ages in their lives, they're going to feel differently. That doesn't mean that because they're 9 and they hate being with boys, because at that age they fight with boys.
That's right.
They hate boys, but that doesn't mean that they're sexually inclined to their own sex. No, that's not correct.
That is not correct.
It's not, because that's just a phase which they're going. That's all part of growing up. They'll suddenly reach puberty, and they'll reach an age where girls will want to be. They will get attracted or whatever. But let's let them be.
Let them be. Yes. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
And why are we why are we even trying to indulge them into such thoughts that they're not prepared for?
Exactly. And that is only going to confuse them.
Why would the government impose their morality on people?
Is that how you feel?
That's how I feel. They cannot, or it's not one of their duties or mandates to impose their morality on me or anybody.
Because they represent all of us.
Exactly.
Right? Premier has been elected. Whatever her personal views or inclinations may be, that is separate from her. She's now the Premier who is there as the representative of all Ontarians. Yeah. Right?
The fact that we chose her with whatever personal choices that she's made in life for herself, that's her choice. The fact that we have chosen her to be the Premier, we would expect that she would respect our choices as well and not impose her choices on all of us.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Look into the camera and tell Premier Kathleen Wynne what you think.
Stop co-parenting. I want to parent my kids the way I was parented by my parents. We've turned out to be perfect kids, and I think my kid will turn out to be perfect. You don't need to be co-parenting with me. I'm old enough to parent my own kids. Thank you.
So what I've got to tell the people at authority is, innocent children, they do not have very comprehensive thinking power. They look at us, people at authority, parents, ministers, teachers, older siblings, and they just take it, what we say, at the face value. So please do not rob their innocence from them, and then let them be kids. And then please do not infringe upon our rights for being parent. Please don't underestimate us. And then we are blessed with enough intellect. So please don't infringe upon our rights of training our kids, please.
So there you go. So if you are a parent who agrees or perhaps disagrees or maybe wants to supplement some more on what they are talking about, you can contact us. You know where to reach us. 647-979-3220. Always happy to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We have lots more in store for you, so don't go anywhere.
Nanda and Associate Lawyers present Music, Magic, Mast Mast Kalaiyan, featuring Sukhwinder Singh
नमस्कार, आदाब, ते सत श्री अकाल
and Kanika Kapoor.
I promise you an evening that you will remember for years.
On Saturday, October 10th, tickets at ticketmaster.ca. For info, call 647-529-5959.
Hey Sean, why worry? The documents are taken care of by Mr. Nanda. Hi Priya. Just call Mr. Nanda for all your legal needs. Bye. When you have Nanda and Associate Lawyers, you need not worry. After all, they're known for fast and best results.
We care.
Selling your home in today's market requires some thoughtful planning and expertise. The RE/MAX Are You Fit to Sell program will help you determine if you are in the right shape. Have you ever thought about which rooms are the most important to your buyers? When it comes to preparing your home, you need to consider how your buyer would view the following rooms. Your front entrance is the first area your buyers will see. They will base their first impressions on this, and you want to wow them the minute they walk through the door. When you stand in your front entrance, how do the other rooms that you can see look? Buyers will determine how the house will show within seconds of entering based on what they see from the front entrance. Does your foyer feel small when you're standing at the door? How can you make it appear larger? Remember, buyers usually travel in threes, so you want to make the entrance as spacious as possible. The kitchen is the room where people spend most of their time, and when entertaining friends and family, everyone seems to gather there. How does your kitchen look and feel when you walk into it? Do you enjoy spending time there, or do you just dread the thought of being in this space? Buyers will feel the same way you do, so determine what needs to be done to make you want to show off that room. The living room is usually one of the first rooms buyers will see when they go through the house. This room will determine the general style of the home, from contemporary to traditional. Is this room inviting when you walk into it, or does it feel like a museum? Show the buyers that they can comfortably entertain in this room and that it's not just for display. The dining room is where the buyers will enjoy meals and celebrate holidays and special occasions with friends and family. What is the primary function of this room? Will this be apparent to the buyer? If not, what do you need to do to demonstrate the function of the room? The main floor family room or great room is the second area where people spend most of their time. Will the buyer be able to see themselves relaxing in this room, or will they be more interested in looking at your personal photos or collectibles? What is the focal point in this room? Do you see it as soon as you walk into the room, or are there distractions? The master bedroom and ensuite is a special sanctuary for buyers. They want to be able to go into this room, close the door, and forget about everything else. It needs to feel like a getaway from a hectic and busy lifestyle. Do you feel calm when you walk into this room? If not, what do you need to do to create a retreat? How does your closet look? Does your ensuite present itself as a miniature spa? Buyers want to envision themselves enjoying some quiet time away from everyday life. When it comes to preparing your home for sale, you need to focus on the entire house. But depending on time and budget, your main selling rooms take priority. Ask your RE/MAX agent if your house is fit to sell, and download the Fit to Sell checklists by selecting Home Selling under Get Advice on remax.com.
I'm not special. Cancer happens to people all the time. I take 1 mile at a time, 26 miles a day. I want to set an example that'll never be forgotten. Sometimes, it feels endless. But the pain I feel is nothing. I've seen little kids in so much pain. Somewhere, the hurting must stop.
Carrie Fox ran more than halfway across Canada to raise money for cancer research. Every year, millions of people around the world continue the marathon of hope in his name.
That's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed our show as much as we enjoyed preparing it for you. If you would like to be a guest on our show or would like to advertise with us, you may contact me at 647-979-3220. But before I go, I want to remind you once again that to be good and kind to a stranger is a good thing.